Hello and welcome. In today's episode, you're going to see me install lower kitchen cabinets. Also, I'm going to be installing another pantry because this kitchen is going to have two pantries. You can kind of see the one of them already being installed from the previous episode on the right hand of your screen. And then you're going to see another one here in a second on the left hand of your screen in that corner right there where my drill is pointing to. So right now I'm just installing that cabinet in a corner that has storage on both levels. So you can see that. This is just me removing the staples from the packaging because these are unfinished cabinets. And as I said, I'll have to stain them. And this is just aligning everything in place because I gotta be 24 inches off the wall on both sides of that corner cabinet. So that's usually how I do it. I put that lower cabinet, that 12-inch, right next to it, and I just go back and forth and adjust it till I get close to 24 inches. And then eventually when it's time to secure everything, when I do it with screws, I do the fine adjustment just to make sure I'm very precise to that 24 inches. And here is the kitchen sink base cabinet. That is 30 inches instead of the traditional 36. And this is going to have a double sink. It's just going to be a little bit smaller than usual because the standard pretty much everywhere in our country is 36 inches. But since this is a small house and small kitchen, I'm doing a 30-inch. So I have a little bit more counter space. Here I'm just removing the drawers. As you can see, this just makes my life easier when I have to drill because I'm going to be securing the pantry also to that cabinet. Because what I like to do is I pre-drill the holes, and you'll see me do that in a second, and then screw everything in so my cabinets are kind of connected together, and it's got that feeling of quality, and it's just like the togetherness and solid feeling. Because these cabinets are not the top of the line cabinets, it's just the basic stuff you buy off the shelf at Home Depot or Lowe's, because both of them have unfinished cabinets. But by the end, when I'm done with this, you'll see how I'm going to finish, because this is, I actually do things a little bit differently. So you gotta watch the other episode and the next one after this, and you'll see how I'm going to trim this out. It's a little bit different than usually how people do it. So once again, I'm being careful here how I move everything around. And right now what I'm doing is I'm measuring right there the pipes that are on the ground. For the plumbing, I'm just going to cut me a rectangle, and so everything fits, I guess. So it's nothing fancy, it's just using my circular saw and then just cutting out a rectangle, set the blade to the right depth, and then just try to get a rectangle. It doesn't have to be perfect as long as you have enough room for those pipes over there. One is a drain pipe, and then the other two pipes are the water, the hot and cold water that's coming in. And if you're curious how this plumbing was done on this job, take a look through the channel, you'll see that episode as well. So I'm just finishing everything up here with just a regular old, what is that, like a $6-7 hand saw that I bought. Knocking this down with a hammer and just taking that piece off. So that's basically that. This I figured I would try to make a nice and precise fit, but it didn't work out because I was actually off by about 3/4 of an inch. I made a mistake measuring it. So eventually I'm just gonna cut once again a rectangle on the bottom where the pipes are. And I mean, nobody's gonna be looking under the sink and judging that, so it's not a big deal. But mistakes happen, things happen, no big deal. Right now I'm just cutting out the receptacle. This one actually came out perfect, there was no issues. And you see here, you see the receptacle hole, everything came out good. And here's what I'm talking about. I corrected that. Instead of the holes, I just made a rectangle cut, and now everything fits in there. And when the plumbers come in, they can connect everything and nothing is in their way. More sweeping and brooming, as I keep talking about in my episodes. I just like to work in a clean area. It just bugs me when I'm slipping and sliding all over sawdust everywhere. And here is what I was talking about earlier. I just clamp everything down after I get the measurements and everything is good. And then I pre-drill my holes because I don't want to split the wood and see my it's smoking. So I pre-drill the holes and then I secure it with screws, and I put 3 screws in there. So my cabinets are nice and together. And eventually I also screw everything into the stud into the wall on top of that. So my cabinets are nice and sturdy, so when you bump against them, it doesn't feel like they're rattling and moving around. That's just the way I like to do things, and that's pretty much normal when you install cabinets. So that's that. Remove the clamps. That's how that looks. So see, that's the 30-inch sink-based cabinet. I'm just running my hand, make sure everything is smooth. And this is what the tape measure was for the dishwasher. You gotta make sure that you have 24 inches at the minimum so your dishwasher fits. And here I'm just taking off the cover for the receptacle. That cover is going to be inside the pantry. And then you can drill a hole through the pantry and either run a cord through it or put everything on the outside of the pantry. When it comes to the receptacle, it just depends how you do it. I'm just gonna leave it inside the pantry. And this is the other one. So it's pretty big. As you can see, I had my foot underneath it. It kind of makes it easier for me to move it, and that way I don't scratch my floor all, to bits and pieces. So here is just adjusting everything. Also, when it comes to that pantry, I also secure that to the stud so it doesn't shift and move, since this is a little bit taller and the center of gravity is higher. And just regular measuring and checking for if it's level and plumb and everything. This is the trim piece that I'm going to cover that gap between the wall and the pantry, because I knew that I was going to have a gap, and basically I already knew the solution how to hide it. Because as much as you plan, you can't just measure it to literally to the 16th of an inch. It's just pretty much almost impossible. So you gotta, be cognizant of that, and you'll have to eventually cover, gaps like that. And if you do it right, it's, people barely notice it, so it's no big deal. And here I'm securing the pantry to the wall. And that's how it's looking, so you can kind of have an idea how this kitchen is going to look. If you saw my renders from the previous videos, you pretty much know how the product's going to look. This is all the madness with the drawers and the doors. And this is going to get stained here. And speaking of staining, this is just how I do things. Put something down on the ground and just try to be careful. Just take your time and just slow down, even though the footage is sped up. But slow down, working by yourself is actually great because you got no distractions, and leave the cell phone away so you don't get distracted and you don't knock over your paint or anything. And for less than $10, you can do this. I mean, it didn't take much stain at all, because you just do the front there and on the inside of the trim of the cabinets, and then you do the drawers and the doors. So it doesn't take much stain. Stain is fairly cheap. It's $10 a quart or $27.96 or 98 cents for a gallon. And as you can see, I bought a gallon there. So that's just that. It's easy. You just take your time, and it doesn't matter as long as it looks good and you do it yourself and you save yourself money. Do it yourself. It gets done. I mean, I don't know. I keep talking about it, I keep repeating it like a broken record, but the more you do yourself, the more you're going to save, and all you gotta do is just take a little bit of time so nobody's rushing you, and you can save a lot of money on doing a kitchen yourself. Because as you know from the previous episode, this kitchen and the bathroom cabinets were $1,600. And if you bought finished cabinets, everything done ready for you, you can easily pay $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 and higher. I mean, there's kitchens out there that cost cabinets that cost $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, and I'm definitely not doing that. So here you can have a nice little, humble kitchen for $1,600. And that's pretty much how you stain stuff. It's fairly straightforward. Just go over it. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.